this too, and her name is Minerva. Ouch. She's the flower of the flower. Ouch.
Welcome to the show.
Don't start! We haven't left yet!
Welcome, everyone. It's once again time for Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs, the show that you anxiously await for every Sunday. And we've been gone, I think, for 2 straight weeks. And I am back wearing my Andy Smith Dude, I'm Right Here shirt that he gave me a while back. My nice leather jacket I got for Christmas. It means it's in the middle of August, but I'm having a cool day here. So I'm just, gotta stay warm. It amazes me how I can know I'm doing this show hours before I'm going to do it. And yet I'm never fully prepared to do it when I'm supposed to go live. It was about 2:45, and I started looking at some Instagram videos. You can go down a rabbit hole, right? And then I look up and it's 3:01 and I'm already late for the show. And I'm like, I haven't psyched myself into this. What am I going to say? So anyway, here we are with me fidgeting in my chair like I always do. But I'm glad to be back after my San Diego experience this year. Even at the ripe old age of 62, it sort of motivated me. Got a lot of big ideas, a lot of plans, kind of like the Joker. He says, Commissioner Gordon, he's got plans. Well, I've got plans like Commissioner Gordon, and we'll see how many of them get to fruition by this time next year. But mark it down. I'm saying right now, I've got plans. So anyway, welcome everybody. I've got a long list of things to get accomplished today, mainly because, it's 2 weeks worth of material, right? So I don't even know where to begin. It says here on my list that I'm supposed to begin with Tales of San Diego. But before I do that, let's take a quick look in the chat and see who's joining us on this fine day. We're a little light in the chat, so it shouldn't take too long to get through this. We'll see how it goes. Past Master Dan is here. Just hit the like button and feel the power. Interesting thing about Masters of the Universe. Feel the power. I have the power. It's kind of the whole power thing. I have an account on Letterboxd. I don't know if you guys are familiar with this app or this site, but you go watch movies, you do a quick review and, post it. And I gave Masters of the Universe 2.5 stars out of 5. And yet I really liked it. It's very strange. It's very strange how you can find a movie incredibly enjoyable, but at the same time, objectively realize it's not a great film. Kind of like Commando with Arnold. Incredibly entertaining film. 5-star rating as an entertaining film. I hesitate to even give it 2 stars because it's such a poor film. But I just find that interesting. But anyway, at least I have the objectivity, enough of truth or at least enough objectivity to tell you the truth about some things anyway. So I don't know. Master of the Universe just popped in my mind. I thought I'd do that little social commentary there. All right. Corum says, tell us about the dark side of San Diego. Spot any Bigfoot? I don't think San Diego is a hot spot for Bigfoot. It may be a hot spot for people making fake Bigfoot videos, but no Bigfoot sightings were seen. Although I did see that big black dude that was the pirate, with the rivets in his forehead from Pirates of the Caribbean again. It's the second time I've seen him at the show. Also saw another celebrity, but we'll get to that in a minute. Avenger 2 is here. He's saying, if I'd gone to the desert outside of the cities, I might have seen the Yucca Man, or is that the Yucca Man? I didn't know there was one. Randy Howell, all the way from Canada, says Aaron is going to do a tell-all on the dirty deeds that happened at San Diego. It's not quite as, well, what should I say? There's not so much going on, or at least the stuff that is going on is not as easily accessible as it used to be. Bolton Saijin is here. Corey Landis. He says, where's Sasquatch and Bigfoot? Bring them to me now. You're just going to have to wait. We do Bigfoot like news channels do the sports. They always save it for the end of the show because they know half their audience is there just to hear the sports news. So. Stealth X5 says the lame chat resets. Must have dropped off some of his earlier comments. Mark Pengren is here with fire. Pittymaw joining us. Says, hail everybody, we're back together again. Isn't it true? Marcus Killigrew says, hail all. There's Leg Kick. Leg Kick is here because Leg Kick is always here. Michelle Bowers, Lady with a Sword, is joining us. Marcus Killigrew comes right out of the gate, says, I hope Aaron is sober enough to do the show. Are you sober enough to catch that? Once again, Billy Tucci takes to the airwaves, takes to social media to create a false image of yours truly. Now, it is true that I did have a beer. In fact, I'll even confess that I had 2 beers over 2 separate evenings. Andy Smith and I went to an Irish pub. I had a very, unfortunately, mediocre Reuben sandwich, but I'm a connoisseur of the Reuben sandwich. So whenever I see one in a place I've never been before, I'll usually try it and go, you know what? Let's see if it's any good. It was okay, but it wasn't great. It was okay. And I had a Corona, which some people could argue is not even beer, but colored water. And then and that was Thursday night. And then Friday, Saturday night, when we all went out with our printing rep, I did have a IPA with really heavy citrus notes that Billy chose for me. And it was really quite good as far as beer goes. So anyway, that is my entire alcoholic experience for the weekend. Those 2 beers, one on Thursday night, one on Saturday night. And you're just going to have to take my word for that because, gosh darn it, it's true, regardless of what Billy says. Okay. There's Pantheon 7900 is here. JP Roca wants to know what's good. Everything is good. Everything is awesome. Is that the song from the Lego movie? Yeah. Let's see. Let's scroll down here. Not a lot of activity in the chat. Oh, Marcus Killigrew says, wait, Aaron wasn't on for 2 weeks. I didn't notice. Marcus Killigrew is like getting himself in trouble really early on this show. And then he says, if Aaron doesn't notice my jabs, I'll repeat them. Well, I did notice them. So Major Corn Dog is here. Says, welcome back. Thank you. It's good to be here. Sleeping Psychopathy is joining us. She disappeared for the longest period of time, and now she's a regular making AI videos on graybeards, which we love. And here she is in the chat this Sunday afternoon. Welcome back to your full-time position, Sleeping Psychopathy. I appreciate your attendance very much. DF 58008 is here. It says, where's the anime women at? Well, they ain't here. Excuse me. William Wellborn is joining us. There's 10-8 Comics is now headed to watch on the Roku big screen. Well, the bigger the screen, the more I can, whatever. Let's see here. JP Roque says, I am to pulled pork sandwiches as Aaron is to the Reuben, I guess. Perhaps so. If you search out, but it's a lot easier to find a Reuben sandwich in a variety of restaurants than it is necessarily to find a pulled pork sandwich. So, hi, Aaron. Jay Roscoe says, Rasco, excuse me. Hope you had a successful and regarding. Let's try that again. Hi, Aaron. Hope you had a successful and regarding San Diego Comic-Con this year. I think what he meant to say is, I hope you had a successful trip regarding, or something like that. It's SDCC this year. It was successful on many levels and disappointing on a level. It's an interesting thing. You've always got to ask yourself, because it costs so much money to go to San Diego. Now we'll get into the San Diego stuff. It costs so much to go to San Diego. Your first thought is always in your mind, well, I got to make my money back, and I got to, I want to make money ahead. You just don't want to go there, sell a bunch of stuff to pay for the privilege of you going there to sell a bunch of stuff. Doesn't make any sense. But when you step back a little bit, you have to ask yourself, and this was a prime reason for going back in the day, was connections, meeting people, getting work, networking for the future. All these things were extremely important. And so you could say, well, I'm going, it may cost me money, but it's a value to my career going down the road. That's really not going on anymore. Marvel and DC don't really, they're there, but they're not really there. And obviously they're not looking at a guy like me anyway. But there still is opportunity there, and there's still you can generate projects. And so I found it valuable to attend this year, despite the fact it was my lowest grossing San Diego in years and possibly ever. So as I went there this year, I was thinking to myself, is this going to be it? Is this my last year? Surely I can't go forever until I just drop dead at my booth. At some point you say, you know what? I'm done. Time for the next generation to move through, whatever. But all the experience of San Diego this year combined to put it all together in a nice little picnic basket, if you will. And it's, I felt like, you know what? I need to come back next year. So I am going to be exhibiting again next year, and we'll just take this year by year. And it's funny because I talked to Arthur Adams, who sits very close to me, and we were kind of commiserating and saying, oh, here we are again. Oh, man. And talking about, well, maybe this is our last year, and as grumpy old men tend to do. And it was funny, on Sunday, he came walking by my booth and he goes, well, did you make enough money to come back next year? And I went, yeah, I'm afraid I did. And he goes, me too. And then stormed off. So it's kind of funny. But it is that way when you've been going as long as Arthur has, or if I have, and a lot of other people. Sadly, Adam Hughes wasn't there. But as most of you, I'm sure all of you know at this point, that he's undergoing cancer treatment. So we miss not seeing Adam there, who's usually in the booth right next to me. But I did get to talk to several people and got to meet several people. I got to meet Sean Gordon Murphy, who I had never met before, and talked with him for a bit. Very nice guy, obviously very talented guy, but a very nice guy, which is always nice to see. Jason Fabok came up to me, and very funny story. He says, well, I think it was funny. He says, hey, Aaron, and I wasn't paying attention. I turned up and looked, and it was hey, Jason. I go, it's so good to finally meet you in person. Because we have messaged back and forth before, but I didn't remember ever meeting in person. And he goes, well, we actually have met in person. And I went, really? And he goes, Do you remember the big DC story conference we had in editorial and story conference we had in talent conference, whatever, Carolina? I'm like, yeah. He goes, we were sitting at the same table talking about Bigfoot. And I said, well, that sounds like me for sure. But what I remember about that was that Tom Rainey was also at that table, and he was telling us about the lizard men of Utah, which is something I had never heard of this before. So I was very intrigued by it. And I think Jason at that time was probably just breaking in or was new-ish. And so I may have met him, but didn't really know who he was. So it just didn't stick with me. But anyway, so we talked for a while, and really good dude, nice Christian man, father. And what I really like about Jason is he said he reads Wraith of God, and he also watches Graybeard Studio. So how can I not be a fan of the great Jason Fabok? So that was a nice little story or encounter. Corum says 1,000 jewels loot box. I don't know what that means, but it must mean something, and perhaps money's involved. So thank you so much, Corum, for that. I don't know what it means, but I appreciate it nonetheless. Okay, we got another story. Yeah, so one really promising thing about San Diego is I sold a ton. When I say a ton, I don't mean like I sold, hundreds, but I tried to estimate how many books to bring with me, right? Because you got to ship them down there, and then they're heavy. So then if you don't sell them, then you got to ship them back. So I'm kind of like, okay, how many copies of Wraith of God 1, 2, and 3 do I need to bring? How many copies of Kit Carter? How many of Garbage Man? How many sketchbooks? Blazin' One says 10 jewels, gold coin. I don't understand what this means, but thank you. So where was I? Oh, so I calculated in my mind. I thought, okay, how many do I normally sell? Like, I'll sell 2 or 3 copies of Wraith of God. So I'm like, maybe I'll bring 5 copies of Wraith number 2, 8 copies of Wraith number 1, 10 copies of Wraith number 3 because it's new. I brought 10 copies of Kit Carter, and then Aaron Sparrow, who was helping me out in the booth. I had sent him home with some books last year. Well, he brought those back, so I had those in reserve. I brought about 10 sketchbooks of one kind, 10 sketchbooks of the other. So, a little bit of everything, not a ton of everything, but I absolutely sold everything, every book I had. I think I sold probably 15 copies of Kit Carter. And again, you say, that's not that big a deal. It is at a show because they just usually don't sell that many unless you're like Frank Cho or something, or J. Scott Campbell, which I'm not. So I was very pleased with book sales. And every time you sell one of those books, you assume it's to somebody that hasn't read them before. And so you think, okay, possible new, ongoing reader. That's good. So, and I didn't have to ship any books back, which is really good. Randy Howell, $2 Canadian. He says, I have some Connect bucks. It's nearly money. I know. I'll take it. Thank you. So anyway, that was a positive thing. Art sales were a little slower than usual. And generally what happens is the farther you're removed from the mainstream, like me, it's been 5 or 6 years now. I still have some Justice League pages. I still have some pages, but the selection is less and less every year. And I haven't done anything, that would be considered mainstream in a while. So you lose that art collector that's coming in looking for Hulk pages or whatever, right? Now on the work front, I've been signing cards for Upper Deck. And because they've been doing some of the DC stuff I did in trading cards. So they came by and had me sign some more stuff. Then they had me do a promotional video of me opening card packs, which was actually kind of fun. And that was insanely entertaining. So I don't know what they're going to do with it, if it's a social media thing, or if it goes up on their website, I have no idea. But as I was looking through the back of the cards, these card sets, I was like, they had like an artist name on there. And so I turned to the guy that is in charge of like hiring people or whatever. And I said, are you hiring artists to do new art for these cards? And he's like, yeah. And I go, well, then why am I not working for you? And he said, did you want to do some? I went, why wouldn't I? And so he promised. And he even got a book from me, which I signed. So gifts were exchanged, promises made, gifts exchanged. So hopefully I'll be get to do a few cards just for old time's sake. That would be kind of fun. So anyway, that was another interesting thing. And then I picked up some more work that I don't know if I can talk about. But it is with a prominent character, and we'll see. Well, we'll leave it at that. So that'll be something that I can do after Barbaric Adventures for a little bit. And if everything works out, I never like to, until contracts are signed and, and things are moving along. I am doing something for them right now, cover work, but, and I know that's going to happen. But in terms of story and things like that, when it happens, then I'll be able to kind of hang my hat on it. So anyway, and then as I'm sitting there at my booth, which I want to do for 4.5 straight days, some dude comes up, he starts going through my books, right? And this is like on Friday, I think. And he's flipping through, looked at literally every book I had. But I thought, this guy's going to buy something. Picks up Kit Carter, flips through it, and I'm looking at him closer, and I go, oh, that guy looks familiar. But he was looking down, so I couldn't get a great shot of his face. Well, then he turns up to me and he goes, nice artwork, tosses the book on the table and walks off. And I'm like, that's, and I couldn't think of his name, right? And if I could have thought of his name, I would have said something, but I couldn't think of his name. And so I turned to Andy Smith, who's sitting there, and I go, Andy, isn't that the Punisher? And he looks, he goes, no, he goes, wait a minute. Yeah, it is. That's Thomas Jane. And it was Thomas Jane was at my table looking at my books, and he was walking around barefoot, which I thought was really weird. Now, Thomas and Jane and I have encountered each other before at the Emerald City Comic Con years ago when my son was in junior high. And he came up, when he was working with Tim Bradstreet. I don't know if you guys could remember that far back, but trying to do like a line of books or something with Tim Bradstreet. Anyway, he comes by my table, just starts ripping on me for no reason, so I look up at him and I start feeding it back to him, because I'm not one to take crap. And so then he stops for a second. He goes, do you know who I am? And I said, yeah, you're the Punisher. And then we both laughed, ha, ha, ha. I said a few things, and then he left. And then here we are, 12 years later, shows at my table, but I couldn't think of his name fast enough. So I didn't get a, an interaction with him really, but he was there. So I saw him. And apparently Ryan Reynolds was there walking around dressed up as Deadpool. I had no sightings. Rick Moranis apparently was walking around as, the giant helmet or whatever from Spaceballs, the Darth Vader thing, and in costume with the helmet on. And Andy Smith and the comic who loves comics, him from Twitter, Frankie, they got a picture with this guy who was dressed up as the helmet. Now, he never said anything. They just said, hey, can we get a picture with you? And he gave him the thumbs up. So that very well probably was Rick Moranis that they got a picture with. And so there you go. The dark helmet. Yes. Thank you. So anyway, that's pretty much, we had dinner, we ate food, and I got to go with the Malibu guys, which I do every Saturday night. Dave Olbrich, Chris Olm, Tom Mason, and Scott Benefill and I get together Saturday night at San Diego and have dinner and reminisce about the good old days, which was fun. And so there you go. But one of the other takeaways from San Diego was print sales were sluggish at best. So what has led me, and I had two of my best prints I've had in years, in my humble opinion, and I got too many of them left over. So here's what I'm going to do. For those of you interested in such things, let me turn on my banner here. All right, there is my PayPal information scrolling across the bottom of your screen. Okay, so here's the two prints. Here's what I'm going to do them one at a time because that's only how I can do it. This really nice Silver Surfer print, penciled inked, colored by me, and even signed by me right there. This print I'm offering up only while the show is running live. Once the show's over, sale's over. These are $20 signed, $10 signed. Now the catch is I do need $5 shipping. So the best deal is to get both of these. And here's the other one, the Hulk, which I think is a really nice print as well. You get both of these for $20 plus $5 shipping. That's $25. Both of them are signed, and normally a $40 value without shipping, $45 with shipping. So there you go. If you're interested in it, this is a 50% off sale on these two prints only, Silver Surfer and the Hulk. All you have to do is send me the money via PayPal. You don't have to announce it in the chat. Just go and you can do it on PayPal or you can do it on Venmo. Those of you who are regular buyers from me have that address. If not, there's my PayPal. And just put, print sale as a description of what it is. And then I will ship these out to you tomorrow. So again, this Hulk print, God, I got to push too many buttons. The Hulk print and the Silver Surfer print are normally $20 signed. Today, during the show, $10 a piece, and they do come signed. So there you go. If anybody's interested, that's all you have to do. At the end of the show, I'll go check PayPal and other things to see if, and we'll whoever wants them can get them, and then I'll send them out tomorrow. So there you go. We'll come back and revisit this later in the show, but that is the big print sale special, post San Diego special going on right now. There you go. I just heard my Venmo go cha-ching, so I know somebody got them. So it's $25 for both of them. That includes postage. And of course, it was Stealth. Stealth can't pass up a good deal. If you just want one, it's $10 plus $5 shipping. So $15. And so that's still quite a savings for a couple of really nice prints. So anyway, there you go. All righty. That was the main thing for me to start the show with. So there you go. So let's get into our regular programming, which we might be a little rusty at because, like I said, we haven't done it in a couple of weeks. But let's start off with this. Turn off my ringer. All right. Where is it? Okay, now some people may Oh, where's the thing at? There it is. Okay, some people may find this culturally insensitive, but I don't care. Yeah, we're talking about Yellow Claw #1. I'm reading a super chat here. Randy Howell for $2 Canadian says, "Can the print fit in the Barbaric Adventures box?" What's in the? Well, let's say 8x11. I don't. Oh yeah, yes it would, because I'd put it in the tube and then mail the tube in the big box. So yeah, if you got the big box, then you could just buy the 2 prints for $20. Don't include the shipping and just say, hey, ship it with my order. And I can do that. So, but make sure you instruct me with your payment that that's what you want me to do. So it's clear. Okay. So what about the Yellow Claw #1? Joe Manley did the cover and the art. And I like this cover a lot. And oops, let's get bigger here. This particular one is a 4.5. Doggone it. So you can see some of that nice Joe Manley art. So this is on here, or was on it. Whoa, it's all over the place. So this was on Heritage. And you can get it, a 4.5 for $1,600. Now this is from 1956. This is a Marvel or Atlas comic before they turned to Marvel Comics. So just about the time they were getting ready to go into their giant monster books with Kirby, they put the Yellow Claw out there. The thing about this book is it's super hard to find. Let's take a look at what our friends over at Go Collect have to say about this book. If you were able to find a 9.2, you would be looking at $34,000. And as you can see over here, there's only 95 graded total copies of this book. There's only one 9.2. It's a $34,000 book. And then it drops down to an 8.5. So that means there's no 9.0s that are graded anyway. And there's 2 8.5s, or pardon me, 1 8.5 for $11,000. Man, look at the price difference. 20 grand for a grade, not even a full grade. But that's just the rarity of the book. You get in the 7.0, you're looking at 4,800, 6.5, 6.0. Now we're talking. This would be the range that I would be interested in if I had any money, which I don't right now, but let's just say I did. I would be interested in this range. There's no way I'm paying $4,000 for that book, but I would pay somewhere between $1,400 and $2,400 for a 5.5, 6.0 copy that presented really well. But I haven't yet to be able to find one because there ain't that many of them. We look at all the grades here. There's 2 8.0s, 3 7.0s. Now there's 7 6.5s. So that's a pretty healthy, but that's a $4,300 book. So I'm not going that high. So I've got 2 6.0s, 4 5.5s. So if I want to stay in that 6.0 to 5.5 range, I've got about 6 opportunities over the course of the remainder of my life to find that book with someone that's selling it. I got 6 copies. Now I'm sure there's plenty of ungraded ones. And I would buy an ungraded copy if it was a mid-grade, as long as the price was right. So there you have it. That's another book that I would love to have that I do not currently have. The Yellow Claw #1. Now I do have the first Silver Age appearance, pardon me, of the Yellow Claw, which was in Strange Tales number something. Stranko issue with Captain America in it. It was a Nick Fury Agent of Fields, Agent of Shield, and I do have a copy of that. Really nice near mint condition. So. And I don't believe it's slabbed either. I think it's just got it from Metropolis Comics several years ago. I think my son got it from me for Christmas. One of the better presents I've gotten over the years. Slob Zombie says, most Asians love Yellow Claw, I bet. Probably. Iodine74 says, oh my gosh, I read that as Yellow Clam. That's an entirely different book. Randy Howell, yes, sent $20 to Cold Crocodile Press. That is correct. If you use my PayPal, it will come up as Cold Crocodile Press, and that is correct. So get those prints. You can only get that sale on the prints during the show. Once the show's over. So anyway, there you go. Oh, I did get, and I've shown this on every show I've done up to this point since I've been home from San Diego, but it's so cool. Let me show it again. I did trade for I didn't get any comics this year at San Diego because I didn't make enough money to warrant spending several $100s or even $1,000 on a book. But I did trade for this beautiful Planet of the Apes with Chuck Heston and some rando gorilla piece done by the great San Julian. Those of you who are a little bit older may remember him from his work on Creepy and Eerie magazine, as well as Vampirella. Great piece. I traded an Archie cover for it. The guy who had this wanted $850 for it. I had $1,000 on my Archie cover, but I was willing to make the trade and go, yeah, here. I'm just a huge Planet of the Apes, at least the original movie, fan. And this is a great piece. Chuck Heston was at one time my favorite actor. Isn't it funny how we go through favorite actors, especially as you're a kid? You just, progress. It was Chuck Heston, and it was Al Pacino for a while. But anyway, there you go. Richard Dreyfuss for a while because of Jaws and Close Encounters. Roy Scheider then became my favorite because of Jaws, and then something else. Blue Thunder, 52 pickup or something with Anne Margaret. Of course, I'll watch anything with Anne Margaret in it. What was that? What was that movie where Roy Scheider was a psychiatrist and Meryl Streep was his patient, and he thought she might be a killer, and it was the something of the night, the still of the night, I think it was called. So there you go. Okay. That really pretty much wraps up San Diego in a nutshell for me. I don't think there's anything else floating around here that makes me say, ooh, I should show you guys that. Look at that. I'm only 20 subs from 4.5K. Come on, you guys. I know half you guys aren't subbed to the channel. You just watch and, hit that sub button because it makes me feel better about myself. And I think that's kind of important to me. All righty. So now we're going to take a look at something else. I'm peddling today. I am peddling stuff. And some of the stuff that I am peddling is the incredible, and I don't think I'm exaggerating here. Yeah, we're talking Barbaric Adventures. We do not want to forget about this. Let's see where we're at. We are at 555 backers, 46,211, a very, what you would consider a minor campaign in terms of backers and funds raised, but a freaking major campaign considering the quality that you're getting in this thing. I'm guessing that, most of this is not new news to anybody, but there are 4 stories in this 8.5 by 11 black and white with gray tones Square bound magazine format to kind of replicate a Savage Tales kind of feel. I debut a new title called Primal Zone, and it's kind of an Edgar Rice Burroughs flavored interdimensional dinosaur and caveman story. David Williams, and if you've been watching Graybeards, David Williams showed a couple of pages from his story of a young medieval knight who battles a horde of demons in a quest to become a true warrior. And they're phenomenal. Dan Lawless, of course, is done with his 12-page story. Now, see how it is Dan has 12 pages. David has 12 pages. I have 24, and I'm working on page 11 right now. So I'm about halfway done. And then there's a short preview story of Freya the Ice Princess and Yeti Slayer. So Dan Lawless, his story is completed. He takes us to a futuristic Mars where high-tech society has fallen into savage chaos, and one man leads a rebellion to defeat the corrupt powers that have seized control. How can you not want to get this? Here's my cover. There is David's cover. And of course, all the covers are painted because, you know, we're doing that Savage Tales thing. There's Dan Lawless with his digitally painted cover. And then, of course, the great Joe Jusko has contributed a Freya Ice Princess cover. And although I love the Yetis and Freya and all that, but his backgrounds are freaking amazing. Look at those mountains back there and these rock right here and all this kind of stuff. Amazing. Here's some of the work. And you guys have seen some pages from this, more than just these two pages, this third page. I showed a T-Rex page very recently on social media. Best work I've ever done in comics. I really believe that. Here's some pages from Dan Lawless. I haven't got the scans yet from David's pages to put up here, but I will. His pages are like twice up, so he has to do it and scan it in pieces and reassemble it. So hopefully we'll get those from him soon, and I can put them up on here. This is the Barbaric Adventures portfolio. These 4 signed plates. I love them when they call them plates. In an illustrated envelope. This comes in the Big Barbaric box only. You can only buy this. You can't buy it separately. It comes in the Big Barbaric box. That's the only way you can get it, along with this cover, which you see the unpainted canvas behind me. And the reason it's still unpainted is because I want to finish the interior first and then paint this while we're doing the, you know, the lettering and the putting the book together and getting ready for the printer. Then I'll finish that painting, which will be this. And this cover is also only available in the Big Barbaric box. We've got the sketchbook with their Freya, the Ice Princess, there on the cover. You can get this print of Freya and the, you can see what I'm pushing, and this Yeti called Snow Hunt. Get your shot glass with Barbaric Adventures logo on it. Still a little bit of original artwork. That right there of our heroine Celia is still available. This one here of our hero Carson fighting the cavemen. Here's some pages 1 and 2 are actually for sale too, but admittedly they're expensive. I'm not giving them away, but and the cover is also available. If you keep scrolling down, you can see all of the pledges that you can back. If you get combos like the Barbaric Adventures #1 and the cover A and the sketchbook, you get a discount. You get a discount if you go the sketchbook, cover A, and the print. And then, of course, the Big Barbaric box gives you a big discount. And you can go all the way down here and see all the extra stuff that you can add. You can add on extra covers or Garbage Man, Kit Carter, Wraith of God, Save from the Trash, all this stuff you can add on buffet style to your order. And yeah, some people will be asking me, when is the Kickstarter? When are you going to do Kickstarter? I keep saying the same thing, very soon, but I actually have to do it very soon because I want it up before I finish the book. And I'm, you know, halfway done with my 24-page story, so it's not going to be too much longer. So I got to get that up. David Delco sends me 1,000 jewels in a loot box. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Thank you so much. Jake Blues. That's impressive, Aaron, because Wraith of God are the best books out there today. Thank you so much for that. And like I said, we picked up some new readers on Wraith, and I've got a plan for Wraith 4. Probably will not take fruition until next year, but it's in the works. Craig says, I got the big barbaric box, but I'm still not here. He's never here, and yet I don't know what this means, but I do know what this means. Thank you, Andino Palazzo. It's not going to be ready. Back Me Bro, I don't believe is going to be ready, open to the public when I do this. It'll have to wait for my next project, which will be probably Wraith of God 4, although I am in talks with David Williams about something else that leads into Wraith of God 4. So we'll see. There's, like I said, I got a lot of ideas, and I got to kind of process all this stuff. Anyway, you'll find a link to the description of, let me try that again. You'll find a link to this campaign in the description of this video, as well as pinned near the top of the chat of this video. And if you're watching on X, just go to my profile page. You'll find a link there as well. So anyway, that is your commercial announcement for today. Now, what am I going to do? I wrote some stuff down, and I'm like, well, what the heck does that mean? Okay, I'll tell you what it means. It means this. I didn't make it back in time. Oh, well. It's only because I tripped over two different things. All right. So just to kind of refresh your guys' memory a little bit here, we're going to start with this. Now, remember, this is, look how big this is. This is Barbaric Adventures, page 1. Look at that wonderful ink wash. And this is traditional ink wash with a brush. And yes, I'm semi-regretting doing, actually, I'm not regretting it, doing the border in vines and stuff. Because it is actually, it's a couple hours extra work just to get the border in, but it looks really cool. So I'm kind of down with that, as the kids say. Look at that. Page 2. I'm really stoked about this. This really takes me back to my roots, you know, because I grew up, as you guys know, a 70s kid, and the stuff that was really going on and was happening in the 70s was sword and sorcery and fantasy stuff. Tolkien, Conan, Edgar Rice Burroughs, all this kind of stuff was just the rage for about 5 years. And it was that 5 years horror. It was the 5 years that I was really, really impressionable. So anyway, look at that. Now I can't show you that. I can't show you that. No, I'm not going to show you that. Can't show you that. Can't show you that. I can show you this, though. What page is that? That's page 9. So you know we're healthy into the story here at this point. We're 9 pages in, and they've already had to deal with 3 dinosaurs. I mean, come on, man. That's bang for your buck. Look at that. So this is the kind of stuff you can expect on every single page of this book. So anyway, I wanted to share those with you again, just to refresh your memory. I can't show you that. I mean, when it's only 24 pages, I don't want to show you like 10 pages and you've seen half the story. So, all right. Now, I also was digging around. I found some stuff. I thought was interesting. So I will throw it at you here. I was back in the heyday of prints, which I'm not convinced we're in anymore, but I was going to do this like Galactic Heroes print. So Warlock, 70s Ms. Marvel, Captain Marvel, Thanos, the Watcher, Galactus, Silver Surfer. And I was going to do this as a print. And now I'm not. But anyway, there's that. Now, talking about having plans, we all know the success of John Byrne's X-Men story that he basically did for free and released it for free online. And then Marvel went, wow, we could make some money with that. And gosh darn, they sure did. Well, some of us look at that and go, dang, I got this story I always wanted to do. Maybe I should do the same thing. So I found this. This is Captain America, World War II fighting zombie Nazi soldiers. Are you freaking kidding me? Would Aaron Lopresti take the step and throw this story together and just release it online? Would he do it? He might do it. Anyway, so that was kind of fun. So you got Cap busting up some zombie Nazis in World War II. And then I don't know why I like the Silver Surfer so dang much, but I do. I found this. So I was like, when did I do that? You know? So I had that drawing. But then this one at the bottom, I like better. Like this. And so I might, I might turn this actually into a piece just for the sake of doing it. People love the Silver Surfer for some reason, but they don't love my print. I don't understand that. But so anyway, there's some stuff I dug out of the old flat files. And that's all I have to say about that. You know, Bretsky, Aaron, create your own Captain America character. I have. You didn't know that, did you? You know, if you read the back, if I may, do I have a copy laying around here? Bear with me 1 second here. It's totally... Here we go. Wraith of God #1, second printing with the all new cover, available on my website if you didn't get this. So back here, as a stretch goal, I put in my Empire Comics info page. And it describes all of the comics that I could be doing in the future. Let's see here. It says, item, Garbage Man takes a trip to the outskirts of Murnau City to get some peace and quiet, but gets more than he bargained for when a clan of zombies interrupts his meditation. Now, you did get that story. That was a backup story in Wraith of God 2. Aaron delivers. How about this? Item, the nightclub encounters a giant mutant called Trunk, who mysteriously appears in Murnau City. But is he friend or foe? Finding out the answer just might spell doom for the entire team. Did I do that? Yes, I did. That was also a backup in Wraith of God 2. Surely I couldn't have done all of these. Let's take another one. Kit Carter has been captured by her arch nemesis, Zing the Zealous, and is running out of time. Will her partner, Merv the Astrochimp, show up to save the day? Or will Kit become a snack for whatever lurks at the bottom of the pit of despair? Oh, wait. That was also a backup in Wraith of God 2. I'm 3 for 3. All right, here we go. Item, Impyrus continues to grow in power and awareness, but will he continue to be the hero the Earth needs, or will his cosmic destiny draw him away from his home with catastrophic results? If we'd only got to 100,000 on Wraith of God 3, you would have seen this story with art by David Williams. So it's halfway, the third of the way done, sitting there waiting for the next opportunity to put it on you guys. And we got an item about Space Raiders. Space Raiders, Royce Falcon and Del Omega are on their first mission together. But will they be able to steal the Eye of Amanon and save the universe before they kill each other? Well, we haven't done Space Raiders yet, but you have seen the Eye of Amanon in the Kit Carter graphic novel. How about this item? The Primal Zone is full of prehistoric danger, but Carson and Celia have bigger problems to worry about. The ruler has discovered their plans at revolution and is preparing his forces to wage a war that could bring destruction to the world and ours. Primal Zone. Oh, I'm doing that right now. All right, here it is, folks. Old Glory has been trapped in another dimension fighting his nemesis Red Death since the 1950s. But when he finally escapes, he finds himself in the dystopian future of the late 21st century. It will take all of his powers and classic American idealism to overthrow the evil empire and now enslaving the new America. There you go. And then it says Wraith of God and Power Cubed. Literally everything I previewed in this thing right here, I have done to some capacity except the Space Raiders and Old Glory. And I'm in the process of doing Primal Zone. Do I keep my promises or what? Anyway, there you go. Foogman says he never reads the chat. I read the chat all the time. In fact, you know what? I'm insulted by that comment. There you go. Foogman. I do read the chat. Read it all the time. Well, I'm not saying that certain things involved in the Primal Zone story are also involved in Old Glory. I'm not saying that, but I'm kind of saying that. So anyway, one has to predate the other. So hang in there. Hang in there, my faithful friends. Okay, what do we got here? Oh, well, it's time to get back to the business at hand, which is driving this show forward. And the best way to do that is with the Academy Awards. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, I'm knocking crap. I think my studio is an absolute disaster. Okay, we will be using the Academy Awards. The complete unofficial history will be our guidebook today to give us our information. We will trust that it is true, even though it may not be, but you know, especially when we get to those Hollywood rumors. I don't know why I did quotations because, but anyway, I did. So there you go. Okay. 1941. What of significance happened in 1941? Well, let me tell you. The ceremony was actually held February 26th. So they got to the point where they're holding it the February after the year that the awards are for. For example, the Academy Awards this year were February 2026, but they were for the movies of 2025. So, you know, that kind of thing. So this was February 26, 1942 at the Biltmore Hotel. So we're still at the Biltmore. And Bob Hope was the host. And this is 1942. So we are already a year into the war. And people were very conscious about that. Now, Bette Davis, who seems to have gotten nominated every freaking year for Best Actress since the inception of the Academy Awards to this point, she was in charge of she was the president of the Academy at that time. And she wanted to sell tickets to the public, the general public, to the Academy Awards to help raise money for the Red Cross and stuff, and the Academy said no. So she got pissed off and walked away. Didn't show up for the Academy Awards. Now, the most interesting thing of the evening was Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine, two sisters who did not like each other, both got nominated for Best Actress. So people had their eyes on Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine and waiting for them to get into a fist fight or something. So those were kind of the big memorable things. Now, we'll get to the sisters in a minute, but this is the thing that pisses me off. And this is probably, I don't know, I'd have to go back now and look since we've been talking about this. Most of the best pictures up to this point, you could argue deserved, the film that deserved to win did win. Maybe with the exception of that one crappy musical. What was it called? That doesn't matter. But anyway, How Green Was My Valley won Best Picture, and you're saying, well, Aaron, that's John Ford. What's the big deal? Why are you so upset? Well, let me tell you why I'm upset. Well, let's bring up the picture here. In my humble opinion, which isn't very humble most of the time, and I do like John Ford. He's one of our great directors, of course. This movie is not great. I said it. In fact, I would argue that almost every movie nominated this year for Best Picture is better than this one. And we'll go down that list. But first, let's go ahead and take a look at what should have won, but sadly did not win. And that is, of course, the number one movie of all time on everybody's top 100 list, Citizen freaking Kane. So why didn't Citizen Kane win? Well, there's a couple of reasons. One, Orson Welles, 25 years old, the boy genius, first person ever, and I think the only person ever, to be nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Director, and Best Screenplay. Okay. Now, after this movie came out, 25 years old, right? He says he referred to studio execs as a bunch of overpaid office boys. That didn't help. Now, when he won for Best Original Screenplay at the Academy Award, he got booed. But the bigger reason was Citizen Kane is a thinly veiled biographical picture, or based on the life, I shouldn't say biographical, but thinly veiled movie based on the life of Randolph Hearst, who owned like majority of the newspapers in the country at that time, or at least major ones. And he would not run any ads for Citizen Kane, any promotion for Citizen Kane in any of his pictures or any of his papers. So those two things really hurt Citizen Kane. So once again, politics enters in to the Academy Awards, and a movie that should not have won Best Picture did, and a movie that should have won did not. But let me give you the list of the other films nominated that year. Citizen Kane, Here Comes Mr. Jordan, which those of you who saw Heaven Can Wait with Warren Beatty, that's Here Comes Mr. Jordan was the original version of that. The Little Foxes, William Wyler, Bette Davis. The Maltese Falcon, Sergeant York with Gary Cooper, and Suspicion with Cary Grant and Joan Fontaine, directed by Alfred Hitchcock. Every one of those ones I read is better than How Green Was My Valley. How Green Was My Valley? When I watched that movie, I was like, okay, let's see the movie that beat Citizen Kane. And I was like, I'm sorry, what? And the film just ends. Okay, it's like there's no conclusion, it just ends. And I'm just like, I'm not saying it was a bad movie, it's still a John Ford movie, but clearly not the best film of the year. Blazian won for $10. He said, your opinion is correct, sir. Thank you. If you haven't seen Citizen Kane, you're really missing out. What a treat. It's a technical masterpiece. But the storytelling methods that Orson Welles used, things like when he first, pardon me. When he first gets married to his bimbo wife, which wasn't his original wife, or gets together with her. I'm sorry. Reverse that. When he first marries his first wife, they're sitting at this small table. And as he becomes more wealthy and they grow more distant, the dinner table, every time they go back, he's richer and the table's bigger and they're farther apart and farther apart and farther apart until he leaves her for some bimbo actress that he's trying to promote. So it's just like things like that throughout the whole thing with Rosebud, which I won't review. If you haven't seen it, the meaning to Rosebud makes the whole film make sense. It's incredible how intricately woven this story is. But I will say this, Rosebud allegedly was the nickname that Randolph Hearst, he was dating a movie star. What was her name? I can't remember which one it was at the time. And Rosebud was apparently the nickname for her private area. And so when that got in the film, Randolph Hearst was not a happy camper. So anyway, so the legend goes anyway. So anyway, see Citizen Kane at all costs. You must see that movie if you're a cinephile at all. Okay, so let's get back to the feuding sisters if we could. So Olivia de Havilland and Joan Fontaine. Now, Olivia de Havilland, remember, she was ticked off a couple of years earlier when she thought she was going to win. Olivia de Havilland's on your left as you're in the red dress. Thought she was going to win Best Supporting Actress for Gone with the Wind. Hattie McDaniel won. She was pissed, stormed into the kitchen. The producer had to go in there and slap her around a little bit and get her to grow up and get back out there. So there's already this pettiness going on here. So you have Joan Fontaine and Olivia de Havilland both nominated for Best Actress. Joan Fontaine for Suspicion with Cary Grant, of course, the very good Alfred Hitchcock film. And Olivia de Havilland was nominated for Hold Back the Dawn. It's a very big movie at the time, which also got nominated for Best Picture. So Joan Fontaine wins and just sat there in her seat. They were sitting at a table together, even though they couldn't stand each other. And Joan Fontaine did not go up to the stage immediately. And I guess Olivia de Havilland leaned over to her and said, "Get up there, you dummy," or something like that. And so Joan Fontaine went up and, collected her Oscar, and Olivia de Havilland was clearly pissed and, gave her a very not heartfelt handshake, everything, when she came back to the table with the Oscars. So good stuff going on there for the soap opera fans for these two. And I don't know if they ever reconciled, which is kind of sad because Olivia de Havilland lived to be like 90 some years old. I don't know how long Joan Fontaine lived. There you go. Randy Howell calling it out for $2. Aaron is now just 10 subs from 4.5K. Come on, let's get me there. Why not? Doesn't cost anything. Academy Award won by everybody's favorite. Everybody loved him. I kind of loved him too, but I never thought he was really a great actor. But Gary Cooper for Sergeant York. The funny thing is, Gary Cooper started in silent films, like in Westerns and stuff. So he was 40 years old when he made this movie. So he was already in his early Hollywood. And you don't think about it in terms like that, but Gary Cooper had been around a while. So he gets the Oscar, and like I said, everybody in the Academy loved him. So it wasn't a surprise that he won, despite the fact that he was running against Cary Grant for Penny Serenade, Walter Houston and All That Money Can Buy, Robert Montgomery and Here Comes Mr. Jordan, a good movie, and then, of course, Orson Welles for Citizen Kane. And I, of course, think Orson Welles should have won for Citizen Kane. But then again, what do I know? And then finally, let's get to some Hollywood dirt, shall we? Because that's really the fun portion of this segment. The beautiful Barbara Stanwyck, who she's one of those ones that she was pretty when she was young. I mean, like really young, but I didn't think she stayed pretty too long. Kind of like Bette Davis. So let's see what we got here. Here we go. Barbara Stanwyck's stormy first marriage to Frank Fay finally ended after a drunken brawl during which he tossed their adopted son, Dion, into the swimming pool. Don't you love it how Hollywood people, they never have their own kids. They're always adopting kids. What's that all about? Despite rumors of affairs with Marlena Dietrich and Joan Crawford, that means Stanwyck had rumors of having affairs with them. Stanwyck wed Robert Taylor, the actor, who had his own gay rumors to dispel. Their marriage started off on a sour note when his possessive mother demanded that he spend his wedding night with her rather than with Barbara Stanwyck. Wow. Only in Hollywood, folks. This is interesting. Carole Lombard was killed in a plane crash less than a month before the Oscars. Despite her mother's premonition of disaster, Lombard refused to take a train home to Los Angeles after a war bond rally tour. Reputedly, she was in a rush after getting wind of an alleged affair between her husband, Clark Gable, and Lana Turner. Sordid Hollywood. A couple other notes here. Humphrey Bogart did not get nominated for Best Actor for The Maltese Falcon, which you could argue was a crime of omission or sin of omission, as they have listed here. And then Peter Lorre did not get nominated for The Maltese Falcon, although Sidney Greenstreet did get nominated. Donald Crisp won Best Supporting Actor for How Green Was My Valley. Who cares? Mary Astor, great silent film star, won Best Supporting Actress for The Great Lie. So that was probably not to take anything away from Mary Astor, but that was probably let's reward Mary Astor for her lifetime achievement. Although she may have very well been the best, I don't know. Walter Brennan got nominated again. He didn't win, but he got nominated for Sergeant York. Charles Coburn for The Devil and Miss Jones. Then Donald Crisp won for How Green Was My Valley. James Gleason in Here Comes Mr. Jordan, and then Sidney Greenstreet for The Maltese Falcon. So anyway, there you go. That's Hollywood in a nutshell. The Academy Awards 1941, which will live in infamy, at least to me, that Citizen Kane, the greatest movie ever made, was robbed. And how often are we going to see that going forward? Probably a lot. Corey Landis says, well, if you're gay, you must adopt. So I guess that makes sense. Captain Bitpo says, yeah, have you ever seen his mother? Hubba, hubba. Anyway, who keeps buzzing me? Oh, some more prints. Thank you, GJ Martinez. Okay. All right, guys. Excuse me. What do we got? Oh, it's time for a quick reminder of the print sale I have going on right now, in case you're joining us late. This amazing Hulk smash print, 11 by 17, signed by me, as well as this groovy Silver Surfer print, also signed by me. These are both 11 by 17. They're both $20 a piece signed, but today only, during this show, you can order them for $10 a piece or $20 for both. There is $5 shipping. So the best deal is to get both prints for $20 plus $5 shipping. They both come signed. All you have to do is you see my PayPal address scrolling across the bottom of the screen. Just go there, send me the $25, or if you just want one, send me 15 and tell me which prints you want and anything I might need to know to make sure I don't screw your order up. And so you go in and order at your will right now. And when the show's over, the sale is over. So there you go. There's a quick reminder. Now, speaking of what's for sale, let's take a journey through comic fandom. Let me show you a little item that I discovered at a Hakes auction. Now, this is a little retroactive because it is already sold. But yeah, look at that. What If Avengers Disassembled page by Aaron Lopresti. Now, this is as you can see, this is a really good page. Scarlet Witch, the Vision. You got Quicksilver up there, Ms. Marvel, and the Blue Beast, the lion-headed beast is back there. This is from an issue of What If I did, inks by Matt Ryan. So I saw this up for auction. And I sold this years ago, probably for $250, maybe $300. And I was looking at that going, I really like that page. I want to get in on some of this action. So my dog tells me it's pretty sad if you go in and start bidding on your own artwork, but I did, because it said down here, estimate range from $200 to $400. And I said, there's no way I'm letting that sell for $200. If it sells for $200, it's coming to me. So I bid like $240 on this page. But then the action started getting hot and heavy the last hour of the auction. As you can see, it ended up selling for $515. And I felt pretty good about that. So I said, you know what? I'm okay with someone, if they're going to, to me, that's a $500 or $600 page now. And the fact that I got $500, I felt good about it. I did not feel the need to go on there and bid on it to sort of justify my own self. So the moral of the story is the page got what I thought it should have got. So I was very happy, but I was not going to let it go for $200 or even $300. Just wasn't going to do it. So because I did see one of my Sludge covers, the Frankenstein cover from Sludge. Those of you who have read it will know it. Well, maybe I can bring it up. Why couldn't I just bring it up? Give me a second here. How is it you can type in every specific thing and it'll show you everything except what you want to see? So that was Sludge number 5. So let me just do that. I typed in Frankenstein and Sludge and Lopresti and it still didn't come up. There it is. Hang on a second here. Let me Okay. The complications of just sharing something on your screen is remarkable. Okay, that's sludge number 5. So the original art for that came up on eBay a few years ago. Ended up, I was going to bid on it because it was like at $100 or something. I said, there's no freaking way I'm letting the sludge cover sell that cheap. Well, like I do a lot on eBay, I forgot about it, and then it ended up selling for $160. I was mortified. My sludge cover only sold for $160. The guy who bought it, I believe, is Romita Man. He now has it on his site for $1,600. Now he probably won't get that, but that's worth at least $1,000. And I was very ticked off that it got away from me for $160. So I wasn't going to let that happen with this Scarlet Witch, and thankfully it did not. So anyway, there you go. All right. Have I ranted enough on this show? I don't know. It's true. So I mean, I put in the most specific details and not even get close to what I'm looking for. It drives me nuts. Blazing One says, check out the Pioneer Saloon. They have a room devoted to Gable and Lombard. It's where Gable waited for news of her plane crash. They serve good drinks and have live music there too. I'm guessing that's in LA. But thank you for that. Interesting information. All right. Okay, so now as I scroll down there, we've done what's first. Oh, that means we get now. Now, folks, we get to look at some David Finch covers. Finch might be my favorite modern artist. Just might be. I don't have a lot of favorite modern artists, but he just might not. But he might be. But let's go ahead and run the intro. Yes, sir, David Finch. Now, I know him a little bit. I don't know him well, but I know him a little bit. And I did do a trade with him years ago that where he requested an amethyst because that was what I was drawing at the time. And I was like, dude, seriously? He goes, yeah, I always like to get, characters that, artists are drawing. And I'm like, okay. So I gave him the amethyst. I probably did it in color, just juice it up for him because we were trading. And I gave him my sketchbook, and then he never did it. And his wife sent me the sketchbook back with an email talking to me like I was 12 years old going, David can't get to your sketch. We're so very sorry. Please, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, whatever. Well, then I run into him at San Diego 2 years ago. Me and Fraga were over looking at original art, and Finch walks by, and Fraga knows Finch. So he calls him over, and we start talking. And I know I've told you this story, but I'm just doing it to kind of refresh your memory. And, he reintroduces us, and he goes, Finch kind of looks at me, and he goes, I owe you some artwork, don't I? And I went, well, I said, it's not that big a deal. I said, and then I kind of rubbed it in a little bit and said, well, all I wanted was a clay face. I figured that wouldn't take you very long and that kind of thing. And he's like, I got a clay face right now. And I'm like, what? He goes, yeah, come on. And so we go over to, he has one of those big booths set up, like, his art hanging on the wall and all that kind of stuff. Fancy. He takes the clay face painting that he'd done off the wall and gives it to me. It's all framed and matted. And I'm like, I told him, I said, I can't accept this. And he said, no, seriously, I want you to have it. It's, I was supposed to do this like for 10 years. I've owed you the sketch and I feel really bad. And so I took it, I was just like, gave him a hug and said, thank you. I don't even know what to say. So, so he was really cool, ridiculously cool about it. And so I have this wonderful David Finch hanging on my wall right now. As a result of it. So, but he is probably my favorite current comic artist because, like Bernie Wrightson, he spots blacks so well and creates such incredible volume in his work that I just find his work, dare I say, irresistible. But to show you that even the best of us are not immune to borrowing from others. And I know Finch is a big fan of Mignola. Mignola, of course, spots blacks as good as anybody. So you see this Gotham by Gaslight cover? That's Mignola, right? And that's Finch. So very similar. But I think Finch's is better. And I know for a fact he wouldn't sit there and deny it, because I've seen his drawing channel a lot, and he looks at different references for inspiration and stuff. And this obviously is based on the Gotham by Gaslight cover, but I still think it's incredible. The buildings behind him in the background. Look at the heavy blacks. 2/3 of that Batman are shadowed in, and yet it feels like it's super detailed, and but it has so much weight, so much three-dimensional weight to it. And to me, that is a big deal. Some people don't care about that stuff. It's a big deal to me, and that's why I love his work so much. Stealth, $2 says hello. Thank you, Stealth. I appreciate that. And I also know that Stealth kindly ordered a couple of those prints, which I thank you for, because that will, of course, lower my inventory, take up less space. All right, another thing that Finch does pretty well is his paintings. Now, I did discover that his acrylic paintings are acrylic base and a lot of colored pencil over the top, but they are killer. And look at this one. I love this. This kind of idea where Spider-Man is got the black symbiote over half of him, and just a very straightforward, simple design, but at the same time, you'd have to say it's very dynamic. It's very interesting, very eye-catching, all the things you'd want a cover to be. So most excellent there. Now, that's a lie. I'd forgotten about this cover, and I kind of rediscovered it when I was searching out material for this. I think this is really good. I mean, Finch does monsters as well as anybody, and better than most. And, a whole page full of zombies breaking through this whatever wall or fence, just piling over each other. It's a great composition. I don't think he colored it, but the subtle coloring here is really effective as well. This is a very cool cover. Now, it wouldn't be me if I wasn't a little self-serving. So I've told the story many times of how I was doing the covers for Justice League. That was my deal. I did my own covers at DC. That was part of the deal. So I did the first 2 covers of Justice League International, and both the covers were very nice. Well, Finch needed a cover gig. He was a contract guy, as was I, but he, they had to pay him X amount of dollars a year or month or whatever, or per assignment or whatever. And they couldn't put him on a book that wasn't selling well because it wouldn't justify the cover rate they were paying him. So they took the covers away from me on Justice League because Justice League was selling well. It was a surprise hit, if you guys remember that far back to the New 52, and gave the cover job to Finch. I was livid, and I still am, but I can't deny that he did some freaking good covers. So, and probably better than I would have done. Well, definitely better than I would have done, but well, let's just say different than I would have done. But I got to create some pretty cool characters, or co-create, I guess, with Dan Jurgens. This guy was, I didn't like his name because I made him so scary looking. I didn't think his name was scary enough to match his looks. His name is Breakdown, which basically anything he touches, he disintegrates or breaks it down to its, chemical content or whatever. And so I made him into this just ghoulish, terrifying character. And Finch did a wonderful job of realizing this character visually. Juice Cannon for 5 says, thank you very much for this. He goes, Aaron, will you please highlight your Venom pre-lethal protector story in the 93 Spidey annuals? Oh boy, that's tough because I don't think I did a very good job on that. And going back to like very early work like that is, it's always hard for an artist to do that, but I will consider it. Hillary Barta in the chat, he says, lover of William Randolph Hearst. He's trying to get under my skin, that guy is. I've known Hillary since the very early days, and he bought us all dinner back at the 1990 San Diego Comic-Con because he sold a bunch of X-Force pages that Rob had done and Hillary had inked. And he said, tonight, dinner's on Rob Liefeld, and bought us all dinner. So what a great guy Hillary Barta is. Always glad to see him show up in the chat. He's probably boiling broccoli right now. And that is a private joke between Hillary and I that never seems to end. All right. So anyway, there you go. David Finch doing covers for my book. But they're great covers anyway. Okay, let's see what else we got here. I like the simplicity of this cover. It's very thought-provoking, shall we say. Not an action cover, very serene. You've got, I think that's Ant-Man's helmet. I don't know. Thor's hammer. The Vision's cape, no doubt. And a very solemn Captain America sitting in the shadows. Hawkeye's bow. This is, of course, Avengers Disassembled. Really nice storytelling. Again, and a great example of if you actually know the content of the issue you're doing the cover for, you can do more of a story cover as opposed to just an iconic picture of somebody standing there. And I thought this was really, really nicely done. And he did the interiors as well, too. So these are great issues to have if you don't have them. Now, this is a Posey cover, but it's one of the Posey covers I actually like. I mean, I like all of his covers, so I'm not going to pretend I don't, but I didn't pick a lot of his Posey covers. But I do like this one because it's usually he does these covers where they're stacked, which are really kind of cool. You got this a hero tower, if you will. In fact, I sort of ripped off that concept of his when I was doing Excalibur covers for one issue, which when we get to my covers down the road, I will share that. But I like how they're all sort of, there's some movement on this. They're kind of moving off panel here. I just think this is really a really nice cover. And I think it was the first one, right? It's Chaos Part 1, issue number 500, big issue, Avengers Disassembled. The whole Ultron stuff going on. Really, really nice. He also did a stint on the New Avengers, which I was also reading at the time. See, I did read comics up to about, the early 2000s because my son was reading them, so we would buy stuff and kind of collect together and read. Oh, you got to read the New Avengers or whatever. Again, single character, prominent in the cover, dynamic, even though he's just standing there, very dynamic, ready for action. Ready. It's looks like inked by Danny Mickey, and one of my two favorite inkers that I've worked with. Again, powerful, strong image. Look at the shadows, the black placement there to create volume. You know, he draws them so thick to begin with and muscular, but the more the shadows he puts in there, it really helps create that thickness and that volume that Wolverine is just really there. You could reach out and pinch him and then run really fast. Now I got to say, it was really difficult. I could have chosen a million different Finch covers because I like them all. So, you know, just some of my favorites, and these aren't even like my top favorites. They're just some of my favorites because quite frankly, they're all my favorite. But now this is one of his stacked pose, covers, but I like how it's kind of at an angle. I like the fact that Doctor Strange is, I think that's Doctor Strange, isn't it? Up there on top, doing his little magic stuff. I like Thor down here at the bottom, kind of like holding up the tower. And you got Black Panther over here, and you got She-Hulk behind Thor. But the fact that he stacked him kind of at this angle and everything, and you've got that, that wrecked city behind them. I don't know. This is a more recent one, but still really, really good. Well designed, very well designed. Okay, you probably remember his run on Moon Knight. And although he drew Moon Knight like super jacked, which I kind of feel like Moon Knight's more of kind of a well, he's kind of a Batman character, so I always thought he'd maybe be a little more lean, a little more acrobatic. But Finch drew him just completely jacked, and of course the fans loved it. And I think this sold really well coming out of the gates. I think this is the third issue or something, second issue, third issue. The rain effects. I mean, it's just this low angle. It's just super dynamic. How you can take a posed figure like this and make it super dynamic. Well, he just did it. Just a freaking great cover. This book sold incredibly well when it first came out, but then like all Moon Knight projects, it died out and got canceled. I don't know what it is. Moon Knight is so cool looking. He's like the Silver Surfer, really cool looking. And yet every time they do a solo series, it just doesn't last. I don't even know what that means. Break yourself, fool. Pack. I don't get it. I don't get it, David. Anyway, fantastic cover. Again, he uses a single figure, powerful image, a lot of detail, but it doesn't get lost. Now, it helps that Moon Knight's white and kind of stands out from this really dark background, but he does effectively uses some heavy shadows on his face and his hood there. Again, creating great volume. Really nice color job again. I don't know who colored it. Art of Roy said some of that was Brandon Peterson, so maybe that was who colored it. I don't know. Now, this is the cover to the first issue, which I really thought was cool as well. And again, look how thick that Moon Knight is. And look at how ballsy he is to put that heavy of shadows on a white character like that. It just, again, creates tremendous volume, three-dimensional quality, thickness. I love that Egyptian statue back there. That's a great first issue cover. The hero coming at you. Little discs being thrown at you here. This is a really nice cover. What do you think these covers sold for? They came out probably about $5,000. That's like 5,000. You'd go, that was well spent to have that hanging on your wall. Well spent money. David's calling. You. What? Oh. Oh, I see. Okay. That was apparently a drive-by shooting that David was describing in the chat there. Anyway, one more. And again, far be it from me not to try and make myself look good by once again showing you another Justice League International cover, my favorite of all the Finch Justice League covers. Now, this is another character I designed, very much in the mode, like kind of a Kirby sort of villain, kind of looks a little bit like Ronan the Accuser, you know, it's got some other New Gods kind of vibe to it. So I designed this cover, and as you can see, or designed this character, and as you can see, the costume's somewhat complicated, but I'll tell you what, Finch went in there and pulled it off. And this is an awesome cover. I'd actually kind of like to own this cover. I'm sure someone else does right now, and they ain't going to sell it to me for a couple $100. So you got Batman all wiped out there. And this guy's name was Praxis, I think. He was like a miner. Like he had this mining ship. And but don't piss him off. And so those are some good issues. I gotta tell you, man, Justice League International was a good book. Dan Jurgens wrote it, did a fantastic job with it. It was my best artwork I'd done to date at that point in my career. It was a nice looking book. It was a well-written book. Dave Finch covers, which makes me sad and happy at the same time, as I've already recounted that to you. But anyway, so this, if I have a Finch cover, I wouldn't mind having this one. I tried to get Dan DiDio to make this character into a toy because he was like huge and thick, and it would have been like this really big toy, or action figure. It would have been awesome. I never did it. Never did it. I've contributed a lot of cool characters to both Marvel and DC, and none of them have been used. None of them for anything, you know, beyond the comic book stories. It's a sad, sad thing. When this would be a cool action figure, don't you think? So anyway, there you go. There's a little look at some of my favorite cover by the great David Finch, my favorite modern comic book artist. There you go. Pastmaster Dan says David Finch he probably got this from AI. Let's see. David Finch's published interior and cover artwork from Moon Knight has historically realized public auction and commission values ranging from around $2,500 to over $5,000. I'm sure that would be the covers in that 5,000 plus range, and I'm sure they're worth more now. So maybe I could get a Justice League cover for $2,500, maybe $3,000. I'll have to wait and see if it becomes available. Pantheon says, Aaron, if you send me a free painting, you will become my favorite artist. Right now, you're struggling to be in my top 20. Wow. Ouch. You know, I don't think I like getting bribed and then insulted in the bribe. All right, you got a double one on that one, Pantheon. Okay. Now they're saying he has a Silver Samurai vibe. That's interesting because I guess he does. I never liked that character. I never really looked at that character that much. I was trying to go for more of a Kirby type thing. That's why I had all that kind of weird piping and stuff all over it. I just got carried away. But again, Finch did a great job of getting it right. So very cool. Okay, here we go. All righty. Well, guys, we have traveled a country mile to get here, but it is once again time for what used to be our favorite portion of the show, but now is it just disappointing? I don't know. Let's take a vote. Should we keep doing this? Should we keep doing? Because admittedly, the videos are getting better, but that's because they're fake. Stinking AI. Anyway, let's see what we got this week. This first one is, I've titled it Bigfootin' in PA. So Pennsylvania apparently has got some Bigfoot sightings. And let's go ahead and see what this looks like. Oh, there he is. Yep, he takes a right turn and heads back up. Can still see him in there. All right, let's see it again. Let's see it again. So there he is. There he is. Okay, now again, do I have to keep pointing the obvious out? I guess I do. Look at the jump cut right here. Boom, right there. And then cuts right there when the video drops in, which tells me we're looking at AI. So frustrating. He's got little bumps and warts on his backside there. Let's enjoy this for the beginning. I have to pass the message on to Shelly. I'll be right back. Watch this fake Bigfoot video with joy and glee. I'm back. So you guys are thinking this is a costume, not AI? Is that what I'm kind of getting the... Juice Cannon says, this is real. He's convinced. Hulk Smash says, Aaron wouldn't know Bigfoot if he sat on his head. I might. Everybody's saying, keep the segment. Keep the segment. All right. Searching for cryptids is our, what was that line? Our best something destiny. Is your best? What movie was that? It's your greatest, best destiny or something like that. Go on. Who's a bigger nerd than me and knows what movie that's from? All right. So I don't think anybody thinks this is real, but we're gonna, I guess, debate whether or not it's AI or a dude in a costume. At this junction of technology available, why would you even bother getting a costume when you could just AI everything? I kind of feel like maybe that's a thing. Now this, I think this actually might be a legitimate video. The question is, a legitimate video of what? I have my opinions. Let's see what your guys's are. Here we go. So whatever that is, it ain't moving clearly as it sits up there on that branch. Some people out, hiking. I don't really see a lot of movement. If I had to guess that it was something real, I'm saying it's probably a bear sitting up there, but it could be a garbage bag someone put up there for all I know. Art of Roy saying it can be both there. And of course, you're right. You could have a person in a costume and then AI it up. That's very true. Captain Bitbo thinks maybe his long lost cousin. They found him, perhaps. Fuzzfoot says Scumtron. I'm not a. Is that the Fuzzfoot? Is that a new cryptid? The fuzzier version of Bigfoot is the Fuzzfoot. Like I said, I would think this is a bear, but it doesn't move at all. So I'm starting to think that it may not even be something that's alive. It may be something somebody put up there, or I don't know. Yeah, if it was a bear taking a nap up there or resting, I guess it wouldn't move, right? Juice Cannon says garbage bag seems more plausible. Art of Roy thinking maybe a tubby badger. What is that right there? What is that big, like, looks like his noggin or something right there? What could that be? I don't know. But it's so funny. The people filming this are whispering in the background going, look at that. What's that? What could it be? Shh, don't wake it up. You know, it's so phony. And again, if you're filming this, why wouldn't you change your angle so that you could get, like, walk over to the right? You know, you don't have to get any closer, but just walk to the right so you could see more of the front of it. Why wouldn't you take a better angle? See, there's always something suspicious about these guys. Laserbeak says, ask Bob Hieronymus about using a good suit instead of AI. Yeah. Oh, true. Hulk Smash says, no, that is definitely Bigfoot. So, okay. That's one vote. Let's see what else we got here. All right, this. Okay, Bigfoot hunting elk. Although he's not really, well, I'll show you the video here. Bigfoot hunting elk. So there's the elk. Where's the Bigfoot? Where's, oh, there he is. You see him back here? See him right back there? See him right there. Right. Oop, doggone it. Come on, Bigfoot. Where are you now? There he is. There he is. Right there. Standing there. There's his head. There's his shoulders. Now, let's not ignore the fact that that could literally be anything. But it's standing taller than the elk, so it must be a giant of some sort. It could also have been easily put in. It doesn't move at all. If we're ever going to see it again, there he is. Does not move at all. Stands completely still like a cardboard cutout. Look at that. Like, it doesn't move its arm or its head or to look at anything. It's just perfectly still, which makes me think, fakery. Fakery is what I think it is. But it also could be, now see, the narrator on this said, well, this is Bigfoot obviously hunting elk. Well, if he's hunting elk, why is he just standing there watching him? Why? He's got a whole herd right in front of him. Why doesn't he just jump out and grab one? Art of Royce says, no, that's a dude in a tree stand. I'll buy that. That's good, Juice Cannon. Elk or skelk or do. Okay. As you can see, it doesn't move at all. So for me to think that that's a Bigfoot on the hunt, it's like Bigfoot frozen in fear of the elk. He's not doing anything. So again, that's pretty weak sauce. All right, now what I'm about to show you, you may be offended by this, but I found it so amusing that I have to share it with you. This is allegedly a dog man who has captured someone's pet. Let's take a look at this. Please keep your laughing to a minimum. The dog doesn't seem to be too worried about the fact that the dog man has captured him there by the throat or the chest. This clearly looks like someone took his dog and then like cut it out and put it in this video. So the dog man has captured your dog. You're out hiking, and apparently he's going to eat your dog. The dog, again, though, have you ever known a dog to be picked up like that and not kick or squirm at all, especially by some beast that's probably going to kill it? I'm a little, how should we say, I'm a little skeptical of this one. But I do actually like the effort here. Look at that. Like, that dog man is jacked. That is what I call, well, at least a good imagination. So, but yeah, 2002, it's just now getting released. It took him 23 years to master the AI to get it to look like that. Oh, Tank Ferret has a little investigative work here. It says AI based off a deviant art drawing. How about that? Probably. See? Randy Hall is questioning whether John Malin lives in a cave. I don't know enough about Malin's private life to make any sort of assumptions. But this was definitely one of the best, funniest videos I've ever seen. So there you go. I ended on a good, happy note. So there you are. Well, gang, that is going to pretty much do it for today. I want to remind everybody real quickly as my dog's starting to bark, because we have some people coming over here, it looks like. If you are interested in this 11x17 signed Hulk print, or this 11x17 signed Silver Surfer print, they're on sale right now, half price. $10 a piece, $5 shipping, or you can get them both for $20 for $5 shipping. So all you have to do is go to my PayPal, drop the money in there, tell me it's for the print or prints, and I'll ship them off tomorrow. But as soon as I close this window and say goodnight, it's game over. There is the sale ends. So get in there and get those if you want them. I want to thank everybody for joining me today. Remember, Barbaric Adventures, the link is in the description of this video, also pinned to the top of the chat, also on my profile page on Twitter. If you haven't backed it, please consider doing so. I think you're really going to regret missing out on it. So don't miss out on it. Thank you guys for joining me. Have a great rest of your Sunday and weekend. And we'll see you Tuesday on the Professionals, Wednesdays, Graybeards, and next Sunday right here on Comics, Cryptids, and Cannonballs. Good night, everybody.